Hey. This is Coach Wheeler, and today I want to talk about suicide. Should I kill myself? Wow, I mean, that is a very deep, personal, self-reflective, devastating question, and imagine having that on your mind, feeling that's the only option that you have, feeling that's like where your life has come to, wherever you are in life, whatever you're doing in life, wherever you find yourself. But if you find yourself in that place of having those thoughts, of feeling like there's no there's no other way out, there's no other option, or is it a call for help? Is it because you're lost and you're stuck and you're not sure, if that is the end, if that is the only option? Or life is so obviously devastatingly horrible that you feel that is your best course of action. You feel like in your decision making, that is the best thing to do. I've had those thoughts, I think we all have. I think in times of feeling down and depressed, and maybe through really dark times in our lives, we've all maybe had that question flash across our mind. I know I have personally, a couple of times in my life. Once when I was in prison, it was a very dark place, a very difficult place, and those thoughts did enter my mind. I'm lucky enough to say that when they entered my mind, I kind of dispelled them straight away. First of all, because I'm not brave enough to do it, I think it takes a lot of courage to do that. But it's a very selfish thing. And I obviously also thought about my family, especially my sisters. My sisters were the two and my mum that I thought about the most, that would be, that would ask the question, why? And if you ask them, they would be like, well, you had so much to give, so much to live for, so much energy, so much character, which was a very nice thing to hear, when we had those conversations about those possibilities. But, inside yourself internally, the voices and the conversations you have with yourself are very different. And I think that's the tricky part, because when you speak to other people, when I spoke to my sisters and my mum and things like that, and friends, they were... Obviously, people are shocked. That's a natural reaction. But I think we all internalise that ourselves and all recognise that it's a possibility that has probably crossed all of our minds. I'm a very centred, balanced, happy person, or I try to be. But I still have days where I feel sad, depressed, low, angry, over the moon. Days when I'm super high and I'm super crazy, and super happy to be alive. And then other days where it's the complete opposite. So we all have those days, and I'm sure we all have those questions and voices that come into our minds, and we ask ourselves those questions, or we dare to say that word, should I kill myself? If I end my life, would all my worries be over? Would it just be done and I can live in peace, or I can be at peace? Obviously not live in peace because you'd be dead, but to be at peace. But when you explain that to other people and you have a conversation with other people, not only are they shocked, but they also are like, you can't do that. You've got so much to offer. You're this, you're that. I look up to you, blah, blah, blah. Like my sisters, they were like, you're our older brother. You're like this, you're that. It's kind of like we look up to you. We look to you for guidance. If you weren't here, what would we do, And when you hear that, it's kind of like, wow, I didn't realize it to that level. And it kind of reaffirms their need for you, and then also your importance for you to be on this earth, to have that impact on other people that you might not know. And I think this is the point I wanted to do this video, because I realise it's a very tricky subject, and there's no correct answer, there's no easy answer, there's no, well, do this, do that, and that will happen and you'll be fine. And I'm not going to sit here and, as I've said in other videos about being positive and confident and different things about overthinking, is that you can't just have angels, fairy dust, rainbows, and smile and be happy and be positive. It's not like that. I understand that. The difficulty that we face internally, the questions we have for ourselves, inside ourselves, with ourselves, and how that comes out. And if we face ourselves at the peak, the abyss of that drop of feeling that way, that you want to end your life, why that comes to your mind and why that might be an option. And talking to those other people, you realise how important you are to their lives, and you kind of think, really? I didn't really, because we're obviously self-absorbed with our our internal thinking and our life around us that's making us feel that way, making you feel that way, whoever. But the simple answer is, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, this is how I feel, is that there's never, ever, 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 ever any reason to take your own life. There just isn't. I remember when I had a business, a small construction business years and years ago, and I had a really nice family that helped me out, wanted me to do a lot of work on their house, and it was really good. It started off well, and there was a big job that they wanted planned, and there was a lot of work coming. And then they had a 17-year-old daughter who used to play the piano and sing, and she used to write her own music. Well, I used to write rap songs, lyrics and rap music. So we kind of had a conversation about music, and we had a connection for that. And I found her talent amazing. I was like, I can write lyrics, but how do you write it on a piano and then sing it out, a song that you've created? It always blew my mind how people can do that. Singer-songwriters that can do that. I find that stunningly amazing. So she had a gift, and it was sad that for completely different reasons she took her own life. And it was devastating. And I remember that had a massive impact on my life. For a few months, it was just like, the personal, the selfish side of it, the business that I lost and the work that disappeared, but also the personal effect it had on me of how devastating that was to me. And I didn't even know her. I just knew her as one of the members of that family. But I remember thinking, what a waste, what a shame, what a travesty that her gift of singing and playing the piano couldn't have become more and been shared with more people. And obviously in hindsight, the stories that came out about the possible reasons why, and no one will ever know that personal journey for her, how that was. But there's never any reason for it. There's never any genuine, obvious reason to do it, And there's been many stories of people that have tried to do it, survived, and then realised that, wow, I've got a second chance. This is my opportunity to go again. And it's given them a fresh vigour for life. And even people that have near-death experiences that don't, maybe they have an accident or something they did foolishly, that maybe they thought about suicide and then had that opportunity to live again. It was a near-death experience. They came back to life. They were saved. They were resuscitated. They were given a second chance, and they grabbed it with both hands. And that is, I think the message I want to get across today is that talk to people, because when you talk to someone, you understand what you mean to them. The impact you have on someone else's life. I often hear the saying of, be kind and say a nice word to someone, because you might be the only person that does. But when you do, sometimes a stranger's word, someone can say something like, oh, I like your hair, or that's a cool jacket, or I love your beard, or whatever it is, something they say that you think, wow, that's a really nice thing to say. They have no reason, they have no ulterior motive, they're not trying to get anything out of you. It's just a passing comment. It means nothing, but it can mean everything, because it gives you that boost where you think, wow, this person recognised me. Because I think a lot in today's society with social media and our busy lives, that people can pass you by and you can feel anonymous, you can feel like you don't exist. But when you talk to your family, your friends, your loved ones, people close to you, you realise how important you really are to them. I'm an older brother. I have a younger brother and two sisters. So, I was the kind of older child as the kids, as we were a little group of four. And they always say to me, in moments of reflection, how much they looked up to me and how much they're like, wow, when you went and did this and you did that and you were doing this and that, and we were like, just, wow, how does he do it? And you kind of think, really? I was just living my life. But the impact that your presence has on other people is massive, and I think you cannot excuse that, you cannot bypass that, you cannot lose that. And I think there's always, it doesn't matter how dark and desperate your life is, and trust me, I've been in dark and desperate situations where I have contemplated, or the thought crossed my mind of committing suicide and taking my own life, which even saying those words seems like, wow, just devastating. But when you hear about it, it's like, it crushes you, even for people that you don't know. I had a friend of mine who had a girlfriend, and he had a child with her, and I became a godfather to that child. And I don't really know them that well, it's just I was a good friend to them at that moment in time, and they wanted me to be a godfather, so I was. And her half-brother killed himself, and I went to the funeral, so I never knew the young man, but I heard the stories about him, and everything at the wake and the funeral was all so positive, how bubbly he was, how gregarious he was, how full of life he was, and how much energy he gave to other people. And yet for some reason he felt in a dark place that he had to end that. And I'm not sitting here saying I understand that and I get it, because I understand your pain and your personal feelings, and your life can seem overwhelming, that may see the only course of action, but I'm here to tell you it isn't. There are people like me, there are people around you, even though you think they don't care, that really do. And if you took your life, it would be devastating. Recently there was a death that I heard about through my beautiful lady and someone at her work, someone who passed away. She fell asleep and she died in her sleep. So she had, from what we can gather, a peaceful passing, but the effect it had on everyone at her job and in the surrounding areas was like, you know, it's like massive. It's like, and then all of a sudden that person isn't there anymore. Just their presence, not even what that means to you or who they are, even as a colleague, their presence just not being there had an impact. It made a difference. It was like, wow, they're not here anymore. How fragile, how delicate, how beautiful, how precious is life, you know, and it has that impact. And I want all of you, if you're sitting here listening to this message and watching my podcast, my videos and my reels and following me and all that, first of all, I appreciate you. I value you so much, but I want you all to understand how important you are to someone and to the world, you know, because just you not being there will have an effect on someone, even though you might not see it, you might not know it, and you might not feel it. It really is, and there is always a way through. And I'll just leave on this note. In my darkest times, when that thought flashed across my mind and I had those feelings, I'm glad I didn't do anything. I'm glad I wasn't brave enough. I'm glad I was too much of a pussy to do it. You know, that I actually found the strength to get through it. Because now, 30 years later, I'm so proud of my life. I'm so happy with my life. I'm so blessed to be here, and I feel like I've still got so much more to have and to give and to live and to love. That doesn't mean it's not going to be easy. That doesn't mean it's going to be a breeze and everything's going to be great and wonderful and I'm just going to sail through life. There's still going to be difficult times, but as my famous saying says, through our darkest battles we find our greatest strengths. And I think that's what we all need to hold on to, is to speak to someone, talk to someone, you know, talk to me, you know, and we will talk about how valuable life is and what you can do with that precious gift. It's a really tricky subject, and I hope that my video has helped in some way and maybe lit a little fire or spark of recognition of how important we are as human beings to each other, and the cohesive nature of human beings, of how important we are for our communities, our worlds, our lives and our families and friends. You know, just our presence not being there leaves a devastating hole for them to try and make sense of why you're no longer here. So sorry about the voice as well. I don't know why it's gone all croaky. I've had a bit of a tricky week, but I wanted to give you that message. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, blessed day. I'll see you on the other side. Much love. Peace.